welcome. Our special guest tonight is Laurie Glass. She probably doesn't need an introduction at all. You guys all know her very well, but I'll do my best. She's been coaching at Leland for quite a while, multiple state championships, but more importantly, she's just created a bunch of amazing athletes. And she's taken a small school with a diverse group of athletic athletes and non-athletic athletes and turned them into conference champs, district champs, and state champs. She's also been, I forget exactly, but coach of the year a few times nationally and locally. She was on the MIVCA board and many other things, and she's been a special guest for us over the years many times.
I think every year.
Every year.
At least once.
Yes. And so, welcome, Laurie Glass.
Thank you. So, Coach asked me to talk to you about practice planning, season planning, special tournament time planning, and what is it that I do and what do I think is important. If I'm not speaking loud enough, it's because I'm having echo in my thing and I'm not sure how loud to talk. So, if you can't hear me, let me know and I'll turn up the volume on my voice. It's really loud in my ear. So I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about practice plans and have evolved over the years. There was a time when I didn't do a lot of practice planning, where I just showed up and I just wung it. And then I found that to be not very effective and really difficult for me to stay on task if I didn't come with a schedule. So for me, planning for the season starts long before August 8th starts. As a matter of fact, I just had my banquet Monday night, and I told them Monday night that they should put on their calendars, team camp is this date, the start of the season starts August 7th. These are the dates you need to know. So when you're planning your summer vacations, these are the days you can go, and these are the days you can't go. And this is when the season starts. And get your physicals done. You can get them done after April. Like all the little things started the other night after I got done doing all of my talking about my team and my people. Then I end my banquet with a video that I've made. And before I start the video, I say that if you want to get out your phones and put these days on your calendar, and that sort of sets the stage for what happens. And then in April, end of March, early April, I will send out to the returning varsity players what their summer schedule looks like at every date that I expect them to be somewhere for the whole summer. Like they'll get the whole summer in April to know what it looks like so they can plan their jobs. All of my kids have jobs. And so they got to plan their work around it and whatever. I don't do a lot of summer stuff. We do 1 week in June, and then we do like 4 or 5 days in July at Ferris. And then I have a couple scrimmages that happen. Like I've got teams like this year, Bronson and Battle Creek St. Phillips and Notre Dame Prep are coming up. And so one of those days we will have a scrimmage day. And then so that's it until August 7th. So I'm already planning for next season already. So if you're wanting to know if a coach just sits around and then walks in the door August 7th with their idea for the thing, it's already started for me long before we got to that point in time. Any questions about that? Sort of going to walk you sort of through my process as we go through the season.
You get like 13 summer dates.
I can have, I can meet with them as often as I want. I can only have so many scrimmage dates. Like I'm only allowed, I think it's 2 preseason scrimmage dates. But I can go to camp. There's no limit on how many times I can do it. There are people that require way far more than me.
Yeah.
And there are people that require far less than me as well. So I try to find a happy medium because my kids all, like I said, work, and we're in northern Michigan, and you should be able to enjoy your summer. So I try to make it, let's do this, we're gonna hit it hard, and then I'm not gonna talk to you or have any requests from you anymore other than what I've asked you to do. So I don't. Now, anytime my kids want to get in and they call me and say, hey, I want to get in the gym, a bunch of us want to get in the gym before we scrimmage, and then they want to do that, then I say, let's do that. But I let them decide that. But other than the days that I tell them for, and I really think it's important that you give them those days ahead of time, that you're not trying to finagle that. That's why I give it to them early on a sheet of paper, and it tells them how much it's going to cost them. Some of the team camps they don't have to pay for because we fundraise for that, but other ones they have to pay a part of it. And so I wanted that all spelled out there, and then I tell them if financially that's really hard for you, see me privately and we'll make that work for you. So it's all out on a piece of paper. I probably can show it to you, but for last year. So that's sort of my summer thing. And then of course, in those times that I'm gonna meet with them this summer, I have to have a plan for what I want to get done. I don't wanna message anybody, my ear is talking to me. Like literally my ear is talking to me right now. Who do you want to message? It just asked me. I think I must have hit the watch. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I hit a watch and then it literally, did you hear it? Probably didn't. It said in my ear, who do you want to message? This is gonna freak me out a little bit, I think. Literally just picked it up. Literally just picked it up at 4 o'clock today. So it's the first day it's been in my ear. Anyway, so then I have to plan what I want to do. So Tia Brandel, the head coach at Ferris, works with my kids in the summer when she comes up and runs my camp for a week. And then she says to me in the team portion, so what do you want to get done? What are you interested in for this week? Are we focusing on skills? Are we focusing on team stuff? What offense, defense, what do you want to do? So then I have to sort of have a powwow with her about what I want to accomplish during that time that I'm going to do that, which would be similar than when we go to Ferris, we get assigned a coach, and then that coach says, what are you looking for? And I'm like, man, our serve receive is horrible. We can't pass enough. We're going to pass in every drill because we're horrible at it. So then they go heavy on that. Or I can say, listen, offensively, we need to figure out how to dig and transition and be available and work on that. Or this past summer, because Leland doesn't normally have towers, we normally have a lot of 5-7ers, a lot of them. And then this year, the last couple of years, I've had these big kids, like I have 6'2", 6 foot, 5'11", which is crazy for Leland. And we had to work on blocking. I didn't really work on blocking before because we just were little and jumpy and if you jumped up there and got a block, that was a bonus, but it wasn't how we ran our defense. But this year, we had the ability to block balls. So some of my time this summer was spent really, really working on that with the kids. So again, that's that planning about what do I need in the fall? What am I gonna need in order to get ready to be our best selves going forward. So I plan heavy for that. And then scrimmages I don't really have a plan for. I don't put a lot of pressure on those scrimmages. I make sure everybody plays. I make sure everybody's getting time in there in the individual scrimmages. But like when we go to Ferris, when we do the team challenge, which is the last thing we do before we have tryouts in August, I actually play to win those because I needed some people to know what the season's going to look like, because it's vastly different from the team camp where everybody's playing and everybody's happening, because when you get to varsity in Leland, you play to win. I believe 7th and 8th graders, everybody should play every position, everybody should play equally, and they should rotate around a circle and everybody should get in. 100%, I don't care if we win or lose. And then the JV level, 6 and 6 if we have them. Last year we barely had 7 or 8 kids, but everybody played every game. When I have 12, I can play 6 the first, 6 the second. I don't even do a best 6 and a less 6. I split them up as evenly as I can and they just go at it. And because when they get to me, that's no longer true. So I want everybody to get us equal opportunities to get where they want to go before they get to me, so that when they get to me, they have the best chance of earning playing time. But that's, so in the summertime, our team challenge is really, is the start of people understanding sort of where they are in the mix. Now, none of them are confused about where they are, and none of them don't understand. but I may have to have individual conversations with them leading up to that point in time. But usually by that point in time, we've played so much they know. It's not like they don't know. So that's how it goes for me for summer, and then we get into the season. I have a whole process for the season. So, I mean, we've talked before about my culture and having notebooks. Like, I do a lot of thinking about my team and who we are the last time I met them, with them, or what I learned about them over the summer. And then what do I think it's gonna take for us to compete for a state title? Because that's certainly always our goal. So what do they need, and who are they coming in the door, and what can I put together to sort of lead them where I want them to go, right? So I come up with a theme based on our team and to try to put in some of those pieces. And then then I create notebooks, and then there's a whole thing that goes with that. So that's another part of planning for the season that I do prior to tryouts on the 7th. They're on the 7th this year of August, just in case you wanted to know. August 7th is tryouts this year for anybody, for any school. So in case you're wanting that date, that's the date. August 7th is when high school volleyball can start. It's a Monday, in case you're wondering. And then I have different, so in Leland, tryouts are everybody together for 3 hours for 3 days. Last year, we did it only 2 days because I had all these returning kids, 10 of them, and then I had a group of kids who had never played sport before. So there wasn't gonna be any real big surprises about tryouts because I had literally had 8 freshmen, 2 played in middle school. So they were getting their very first ever touching a volleyball moment the first day of tryouts. So I didn't need to, there wasn't gonna be a lot of, I wonder whether she can make varsity or not this year. I have in the past, but not this year. So, but normally I go 3 days for 3 hours. And we just train the skills just to see where everybody stands on skills. And then we rate everybody by skills. So I have to come up with a rating system because I have a bunch of coaches in the gym, and people are passing and serving and setting and hitting and all the things. And when we're gonna rate them on a scale of 1 through 5 on those particular skills. And even when, like if Jordan were my coach and Tina were my coach and Derek were my coach, we would all be around the things with a clipboard, having our own rating. Like if the hitters were running, they would be writing their own notes, and they would come up with their own rating system and then turn them into me, and then we would do the numbers. And almost every time, the numbers were they were almost identical. And you could divide varsity and JV up just on numbers alone by rating them on that scale 1 to 5. And we would always say that 5 is our best passer. So then everybody gets raked off our best passer. So last year our best passer would have been Maeve, was our best passer, and so she would get the 5, and then the freshman who'd never seen a volleyball in a million years would be a 1 on a good day. She might have been a 0, but it was bad. But she was really good by the end of the season, so I was really excited about that. Anyway, so everybody gets rated, and we do all that stuff, and then I have individual meetings with the kids. Everybody gets an individual meeting about where they stand, what they need to do to improve, what their best skills are, what their strengths are, what I want to see from them moving forward into the season, and which team they're on. And that all happens the last day of that week on Friday when we have our volleyball thon. That's the other thing I plan. I plan for a volleyball thon. We make money every year, so I don't have to pay for anything, ever. Or actually, I pay for everything, but I don't have to ask for anything. So I don't have to get the school's approval, or if we want new jerseys, we get new jerseys. If we want new volleyballs, we get new volleyballs.
How many jerseys does each kid have?
God. A lot. One, because there's some I won't let them retire. There's one set of jerseys that has not left the system. And they get worn probably one game out of obligation. They probably have 10 or 11 jerseys, would be my guess. We set them all on a thing, and it's crazy the amount of jerseys they have, yeah. And they have 3-4 pair of shorts, warm-up sweatshirt, warm-up suit.
And you guys buy their knee pads and shorts?
I buy their knee pads and shorts.
Yeah.
I buy everything but their shoes, but Trav gets them a good deal on some Adidas shoes, so that works out great. And they're not obligated to buy shoes. Like that's not a rule I have. We just find the best deal. They tell me what they like. We find the best deal for them that they can get through the school and be tax exempt. And then we order the shoes, and then they pay the school for the shoes. And that way they get the best deal they want. But no kid is ever obligated to get the shoes. So we provide new pads and we provide all that stuff. But we pay for it all. And we do it in a volleyball-thon, and we do it, it's the best thing ever. We start playing at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we don't finish until 8 o'clock at night. And we have the best day ever. We dance, and we play, and we scrimmage, and sometimes we bring middle schoolers in, and we do a clinic, and we hand out uniforms, and we set team meetings, and we have team conversations. The varsity and JV get split. All those individual conversations happen. It's all a great, great long day. We play great games. We play loud music. We just have a blast all day long. And so I ask them to find 10 people that'll give them $10. That's $100 a kid, right? So without even working, if I have 24 kids coming out, I have $2,400 without even sneezing, right? You can find 10 people to give you $10 for a volleyball thon, but they get more. So then the bet's on about who can get the most, and then it's who's gonna break in the most, who can find the best deals. Like if they get Alicia, like the kid that's got Alicia's number always gets a nice little perk in her thing. So we raise probably $3,500, $3,600 every year. We're sitting very flush right now. So we get, and the JV has 4, 5, 6 uniforms as well. The middle schoolers have 2 sets of jerseys as well. So everybody gets taken care of. Well, we raise money for it. It's not like the school is paying for that. Like I learned a long time ago that the schools are very limited budgets, and they rotate them. Like every 5 years you can get a new jersey or whatever that rule is. And I just didn't like the rule. So I found a way to earn enough money, have a good time, play a lot of volleyball, get the community involved. We ordered food, we order pizza, we play. Yeah, it's just a great, you would ask anybody. You'll have to ask Abby after her first one. It's a great time, and the kids look forward to it every year.
Previous AD made a joke. He's like, I could run a volleyball program with the cost of 3 football helmets.
Right?
They're like $800 each or something crazy.
Crazy. So anyway, so we do that week too. And then I practice plan based on who we are and what we're doing, right? Like I can show you, and I brought it, but I don't know how to show it to you. I have my practice plan for this year. I ran it as a Google Doc, and I just added into it as we went along. And then, so it's this running long, huge document of every practice that we had this year that we had planned for. And then if I wasn't there, I shared it with my assistant coach. I shared it with Trav. I shared it with Hannah. And then if I couldn't be there, Trav could go in and put what he did. I'd say, hey Trav, you plan the practice. And then he would put it in the same document. So all of that is in there. And it's timed out. It's literally timed from the 3:30 start time to the 6:30, 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, 6 o'clock end time. And we go 2.5 hours. Half hour of that is conditioning. We go 2 hours of practice and half hours conditioning. And so every minute is accounted for. And even drink breaks are in there, because I find if you ever play for me and I don't have it on the schedule, that I would probably likely never give you a water break. Like I would never remember, because I'm just so into tossing balls and going. And sometimes my kids will say, Coach, like, could we get a drink? And I'm like, oh yeah, I can get a drink, it's okay.
You could share that with me, and I could put it in our group chat, and they could look at it on their phones. Everyone.
Okay.
Just make it so anyone with a link can view it, maybe.
I actually downloaded it as a PDF so that because I didn't know that I'd have internet here. So I downloaded it as a PDF. Download. Practice document. I could probably hook up to, let me just put my phone on. You guys need to get something more to eat while I'm doing this.
Could you guys grab more food if you guys want right now?
Okay, so now I should be able to just. All right, I just sent it to you. Through your message. Give out all my trade secrets though. I don't think there's any trade secrets here.
Okay, let's see if I can.
I think it's important when you're putting together a practice plan, just because things happen, that if you're doing a new drill, that you write in some details about the drill so that anybody who came in, like who had to cover for you, or let's say a kid gets hurt and Trav has to run the drill. If it's a new drill, I put in the details in there and how we're gonna score it or what we're gonna do in order to make that happen. So, did you find it? Did you put it?
Yeah, I put it in the group me, so see if you guys can. There's a PDF. Sometimes group me is weird with PDFs, but.
Goes a long way.
I see. That's.
It's the whole season.
Yeah.
And it's literally starts. Can you guys open it?
Yeah,
It's tiny.
There's a. Sometimes it takes a second to download.
So it must be written Travis.
But if you hit that
What?
button.
Travis is doing that this year.
Is he doing that?
Yeah, but his would be at the bottom and at the top, so you'd have to scroll to find it. Now he just reversed it for all the newest ones are at the top. It's fun. Yeah.
Guys all got it?
He shares it.
Yeah, so the first day, right, is the tryouts. We had a meeting, then we, okay, so that first thing there from 8:30 to 8:40 is an important way of changing. This is a new thing for me this year, based on some conversation I had with Alicia about some challenges I thought we were facing. That first thing up there that says focus on technique, focus on incorporating, and focus on competing. So one of the things I tried to do this year in practice planning was identify for the kids that this drill is about technique. So I'm gonna talk to you about technique, I'm gonna correct technique, this is a technique driven drill. And so I will talk to you about technique. And I will be hard on you about technique, right? So if the idea is that we're working on holding our platform, then I'm not gonna correct anything else but holding our platform. And we're gonna go after that because it's a technique-driven drill, and that's what we should be focused on. So people need to not be worried about outcome or where the ball goes or anything like that. When we're talking about a technique-driven drill, that's important. The next kind of drill that I would do would be a drill that incorporates the focus that we just had within a game-like situation. So let's say I take that serve receive we're working on holding. We've done a lot of serve receive, throwing and whatever to begin with. I may do now we're gonna do a serve receive for points, and the only thing I'm gonna say is you get a bonus point for holding your platform, which is what we were working on earlier, but we're within the drill. So now we're incorporating the technique, and I'll still give you some guidance on the technique that we were working on earlier. I'm not gonna give you another thing to think about, but that particular thing that we were working on will be what I will be working on with you within a drill that's more game-like. And then the last one, and this is where it changed for me considerably, is I identified the drills that were just about competing. And that was a drill that I was not going to break down technique, and I wasn't gonna correct technique. I was literally gonna tell them how to win the game. That's the only coaching that I did during a competition drill. Because I find, especially with the group that I have now, that they're thinkers, they're overthinkers, they're thinkers, and like everything's analyzed and whatever, and then we just can't just play ever because we want to think about all the things. And I want them to be able to know, in practice we talk about technique and whatever, but when we're competing, we're competing. And all you're doing is trying to figure out how to win the point, because that's all that matters when you're competing. And so I don't want to talk about arm swings and roll shot, and thing. I may talk to you about, hey, the middle's open, or hey, you may want to swing down the line, or let's serve them deep thing to get them out of system, right? But it'll be game-like corrections about how to win the point. But I won't, because what they do is they judge, right? Like, I can guarantee that you judge, knowing what I know about you. That when you go up there and you don't hit it the way you want to, there's an analyzing of that thing in the middle of a game, right? Which is the worst time to do it. It's not the time to do it, right? It isn't, you can't correct your technique in a game. So I needed to delineate in my practices which were technique driven, which were incorporated driven, and which were competition things. And it really helped this particular group, because if anybody knows my team last year, we lost more than I've ever lost before as a coach with the same almost identical group of kids, right? And this year, we lose in the quarterfinals to the team that wins the whole thing, right? Like we won 40 some plus matches, right? The difference, I really believe, is our ability to just compete in the moment that we were trying to compete and not analyze everything we were doing. And I think that's a coaching problem. I think I was part of the problem because I was correcting technique while they were competing. So then they were paying attention to technique while they were So I was fostering that kind of thinking, and for this group of thinkers, it was the worst thing for them. So when I was talking to Alicia about this team, they just too self-critical. They can't just play the game. And she goes, well, do you ever provide opportunities for them to practice like they play in a game? And I was like, no. She says, so that means you can't talk to them about technique when they're practicing in a competition drill. And I was like, oh. And so then we practiced that. And then in games, they weren't expecting me to correct it or make a change for them or do that. I would tell them what's open, what they can see, how they can stop that, what they can read, which is different than a technique-focused drill. So that was a lot of me talking. If you go down the practice thing, you'll see that practice is, in the mornings, we go really early in the mornings, but then once we get into school, they start at 3:30 and they mostly end at 5:36. But when we get later into the season, when they were down towards our Octobers, you'll notice that practice stopped at 5. So I didn't go more than an hour and a half on the court, and very little strength and conditioning afterwards. Maybe 15 minutes of yoga, maybe some core work, but nothing long because we're fatigued at the end of the season. So it was really important for us to make sure that we were not overtraining as we're getting ready to go to the best part of the season, right? The tournament time. But it's the longest, we've been doing it the longest, right? So we have less in our tanks. So I had, as a coach, to be very careful about managing their time when we got closer and closer to tournament time. Thoughts, questions, comments? You'll also see as you look through this document that very rarely do I do the same thing every day.